what you need to know for OSCP. And this one will be covering file transfers, particularly Linux file transfers. This is something you guys have been asking for, requesting down in the comments section. And there's tons of ways to do this. I'm going to show you my most reliable method. I don't want to overwhelm you guys. We're going to just stick to one method here, and perhaps in future videos we can really dive into the rabbit hole of all the different ways you can do it. So if that sounds interesting, stay tuned. All right, and so to demo this, I actually have a shell here. This is my victim box here. This is a Linux machine, and of course my attacker Kali Linux box on the bottom here. So I have a file that I want to share. Now this is, contextually speaking, this is really textbook scenario when you want to do a file transfer, right? Say you have your initial shell on the system, but now you need to do some privilege escalation, and so you want to be able to find any potential privilege escalation vulnerabilities on this machine so that you can escalate to root, right? So one thing that can really greatly assist you with this is to run a privilege escalation enumeration script. Basically, this script right here is just going to run a bunch of automated checks on the system here and look for any potential vulnerabilities to allow us to get root, right? But we need to get the script on the system first. We don't have to. There's ways to run it without putting it in memory, but I'm not going to get too advanced with you. I'm just going to teach you, what you need to know for OSCP, right? You don't need to worry about being stealthy on the OSCP or anything like that. So we're going to do it the old school way, the louder way, which is to actually download the file on the target system and then run it. And so the way we're going to do it, my favorite way is to host it using a Python web server. So you can actually run Python from the command line, giving a -m flag to say, hey, run this module. I actually like to do it the Python 3 way, since Python 2 is now deprecated. It's been deprecated for a bit now. So may as well learn it the Python 3 way. This is how I like to do it. I normally like to run Python 3-m and then say the module HTTP server. And I like to run my web servers on port 80 just because it makes it less typing. As you'll see when we get over here, we don't have to specify the port because it'll just assume port 80. But just know if you do run this and want to use a standard port like port 80, you're going to need to have root privileges to do that. So just like that, we now have our web server hosting anything in this directory. So that's what's important to note. Wherever you run this command, whichever directory you happen to be in, that is going to be the root of your web server. In this case, I'm in dev shm. That only has one file, this linps.sh, which is perfect. That's the only thing I want to expose through my IP address, right? And so over here on the victim machine, when it comes to simple text files, like most of the files you deal with on Linux are text files. They do have binaries as well. But with text files, you're normally good just to use a wget. So most of the time, that's what you're dealing with anyway. So in this case, what I would do is do a wget. However, I need to know what my IP address is. So let me just check that over here. So this is my IP, right? So I'm going to say wget, and I will specify the server and the file that I'm trying to grab. So I do that, and now you see that I have downloaded on the system. I successfully transferred the file over. Now, if I wanted to run this, I can just do chmod +x, and now you see it's it's green because if you look at the permissions, I'm able to execute this, and I can then run the script. So that is the easy way to do it. One other way that I want to share with you guys, some people like to do it this way. Personally, I don't do it this way, but just to give you a little bit extra, here is you can actually do the file transfer with curl as well. And so basically, I think I used this like once or twice because there could be some rare occurrence where wget is not on the target system, but curl is. That would be something that they would have to go out of their way to configure the box like that. But I mean, it is a possibility, right? It definitely is. I think that I might have come across that once on some kind of box, but if that's the case, what you can do, and let me just go ahead and remove the file here. See, now it's gone. You can run curl with, HTTP, my box, and let's see here, linpiece.sh. All right, that's a file we want to grab. And we can just pipe this into bash from here. And when we run this, I think it should work. Let's see. Yeah, so the way that actually works is a little bit different, right? This is the more stealthy way to do it. Let me just kill this, right? I don't want it to run right now, but see, if you run it like this is the more stealthy way because you're actually doing both in one go. So you're not even saving it to disk. Like if I look here, I didn't even save this to disk. I basically grabbed the file. I browsed to the sh file and I piped it immediately into bash. So I didn't even pull down this file on my system. This is really something you would only do when pretty much the use case for doing this is when you have like a shell script or something like that, bash script that you just need to run. You just need to execute it. You don't necessarily have to save it on the system. And so obviously if you were dealing with, I don't know, like a binary or something like that isn't bash and isn't, like some kind of Linux shell, then you can't just pipe that into bash as far as I'm aware. But yeah, this is good for that. And yeah, there are definitely other ways of doing the transfers as well. Like there's a netcat way to do it. You can always do SCP, secure copy. But most likely you won't need that. And at least as someone that's starting out in this and you just need something to get your feet off the ground and be able to get some boxes out of the way, this is going to cover you, I would say, 95% of the time. To be a bit conservative here, about 95% of the time, in my experience at least. If you disagree, let me know down in the comment section below. Let me know, what is your favorite file transfer method as well. I mean, personally, this one has been successful for me, like I said, 95% of the time with any of the Linux to Linux file transfers that I need to do. But yeah, would love to hear from you guys. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. Hit the like button to help get this message out there to someone who might be struggling with some file transfers themselves. And I will see you guys over in those videos.